we are moving into our next conversation, which raises a critical question. Beyond hype, implementing AI in the talent functions at enterprises. While AI dominates the HR conversations, the real challenge for large organizations is moving from experimentation to implementation that is scalable, compliant, and delivers measurable value. So this panel will explore what's working, what's not, and what it truly takes to implement AI responsibly within talent functions. So let me introduce our panelist, Saurav R. Lenka, CEO of Objectwin Technology India. With over 25 years across technology, consulting, staffing, finance, and operations, Saurav has been closely involved in building workforce solutions that deliver real on-ground impact, particularly in enterprise and technology-led environments. We are also joined by Vikas Singh Baghel, Associate Director, Talent Supply Chain and HR Technology, HCLTech. Vikas has over 17 years of experience in HR technology, talent supply chain, and talent acquisition operations, leading strategic HR process automation and global implementations that have been recognized with industry awards. And also we have Anupam Srivastava join them, who is the head of HR, Global Product and Tech, Global Talent Acquisition, Reltio. With over 2 decades in global HR and talent acquisition leadership, including roles at PayPal, Yahoo, Intuit, and Xperi, Anupam has worked at the intersection of technology, talent, and scale. And moderating this discussion, we are joined by Mohit Sharma, Global Head, Talent Acquisition at KPMG Delivery Network. With over 22 years of experience, Mohit has led large-scale talent acquisition and transformation programs across global enterprise environments, bringing a strong execution-focused perspective on AI adoption at scale. So I'd like to invite Mohit. Yeah, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. So why we gathered today, and we were bit of context to it. So there's a lot of hype about AI, and I'm sure many of you would have been not the first time you're attending an external event where we talking about AI. I mean, for me personally, it's been like the 4th or the 5th in the last 6-7 months. So we all are used to of listening to the AI. But I think there is an element about, and if I go around the room and ask talent leaders about the intent, I think I'm sure everybody is going to say, yeah, we want to implement and we want to do something about it. But the reality is that there is a lot of challenge around implementation. I think more than that, it's also about the value realization of any AI-powered solution, especially in the enterprise space, right? So we handpicked industry experts, and thankfully I'm on the other side, so no questions to me, questions only to them. We're going to be discussing specifically and get perspective from the panelists about how to go, basically about the various stages when somebody really have an intent to do something to the implementation. What are the various stages? What are some of the known, unknown hurdles? How to navigate through that to get to a successful implementation? Not just the implementation, it's also about how do you really move to the next step of value realization. So that's a bit about what you could expect from this discussion today. So maybe, I don't know who's going to answer to that, but let me maybe possibly just zoom out of all of this and ask maybe Vikas, since you're sitting next to me. So if you look at it, so the fact is that talent leaders today, and just a bit of data point as well, today it takes easily 18 months, and many experts like Arun and others, colleagues in the industry can validate this. It takes 18 months on an average from an intent to actually get an implementation done. And it goes through various cycles, right? So given there is an intent, Vikas, and there is enough resources available, there are plenty of solutions available in the market, right? What do you think is the root cause? What's leading to this challenge?
All right, so first of all, great to be here. I hope I'm audible. So a couple of things, Mohit. I think it was fascinating to hear some of our speakers and all the data points. And I think technology has already proven, right? It works. And it is working, and it is accelerating at breakneck pace. So despite that, why it is failing? I think the answer is that because it's not a technical question. It's a cultural question, right? So all of us get this great technology, and we don't solve for culture and behavior. And we believe that we try and put a technology to automate all our ways of working and decisions which live in past. So we say that, okay, I'm taking the tool, I'm not going to change my org structure, I'm not going to change my role definitions, make it work. And then we hit the wall, and we don't go anywhere from there. So personally for me, and I think Arun will talk about it, we started this journey during the COVID time, right? That's when I bumped into Arun in one of the sessions, and at that point even Hyreo was just thinking about what they're trying to build. So we really started a journey to say how to build this for a company of size and scale of HCLTech. And I believe that before you take a tool and try and automate something, first we need to define a problem statement and the context to say what are we trying to solve, right? And what are we trying to solve for the business? And some of the presentation which we saw earlier, it was talking about mostly about TA metrics. Business doesn't care about our matrices anymore. CPA, JPR, all of that is for us, right? For them, it's about what is the business context. And to make something like, it's like putting a technology tool unless you solve some of these data contexts, for example. All of us have silos of data, right? Recruiting system doesn't talk to performance system doesn't talk to engagement system. And we keep buying some of these tools, standalone tools. And unless you orchestrate them and bring them together, you will never get the desired outcome.
And that comes. What comes to mind also is today, if you look at it, and I'm sure many of the talent leaders in the room as well, there are so many solutions available in the market, and I'm glad that we have so many solutions in the market. But it also makes you very cluttered, right, as talent leaders to choose what has to be done. So maybe question to you, Saurav, right? I mean, it's so much happening and so much noise and so many solutions available. Experience and advice to the audience, and especially the talent leaders sitting in the room, on how do you stay still focused and have that sense of clarity?
So I think Vikas partially answered that, and I will build on it. So, and it comes from the experience. When we look at any new product, and today, honestly, there's so many products coming out with AI tagged that sometimes, we are getting confused what to take and what to implement. I think one of the clarity questions that we need to answer is, what is the problem statement I'm trying to solve? What's the outcome I'm going to chase?
Absolutely.
I think that's the first thing we need to look at. Second, and this is something that we learned after failing on 2 implementations, it's been confusing AI with automation. AI is intelligence. It is something that you are building as a decision moments on the process that you are working on. It's not the process automation.
Yeah.
So if it's not about speeding up the recruitment process, it's about building the intelligence on why this candidate will go through. Or rather, like previous one of the jury members says, sell the role. Can the system augment it? Third something, and this is something that is still a problem needs to be solved, and I see we have existing applications running on our organizations. Talent acquisition has been the prime function in any organization. And we have existing ERP systems, ATS, all those things. And then you bring in a new application, and then the team get confused. So as long as this application is not workflow native, it's not going
Absolutely.
to happen. So we should be very clear what we are picking up. So for me, I think these are the 3 things that...
Yeah. Sort of for me personally, I like the point about be clear about the problem statement and just avoid those confusion around. Very good point. Maybe, so it's like actually a good start point for us to look at the various stages of bring an AI-powered solution in the talent function for enterprises, right? You have a clarity on the problem statement, and then you move forward. But as you realize, and many of the people in the room also would have gone through the journey, you realize that there are a lot of people within our organization and ecosystem whom we need to onboard, and get along with us for the journey, right? So maybe Anupam, a question to you. Who are those internal partners in an ecosystem? At what stage, and how do you think we should onboard them?
See, first of all, given AI, the word I've been hearing last 3, 4 years, 5 years, I should change my name also with the Srivastava versus with something. I could be more popular at any point of time with the AI as my initials.
You at least have an A and the S star.
Exactly. It's a minimal change out of all 4 of us. So See, the moment we talk about AI and an internal stakeholder we should be bringing on board, and I've been this journey, like I've been trying to do, I'm a tech enthusiast and trying to see. I think the first and foremost is having our executives on board for that part. Because the business outcomes, many a times we are confused. Are we in the foremost stage where people are talking about, okay, fine, sourcing, rating, scaling, those things are there. We should also do something like that. I think it should be derived from the business outcomes. And when it comes to business outcomes, I think there are 3 to 4 key stakeholders what should be in picture, because that will have a very close eye on you whenever we look into those ROIs and outcomes of these things, right? And then executives who are there in the panel, and then definitely your keys, the business side of it, people has to be there, right? Board is always talk about the investors and the money who's putting in money and what's the return out of it, right? And everything that gets aligned to your revenue. How going to map this up, right?
Indeed.
So these are the very key stakeholders there, and at the end, I cannot really discount the users. It could be the business, could be the recruiter, it could be partners, it could be anybody else. They are the biggest stakeholders because that's gonna set the success path for any implementation.
Absolutely. I think we're naturally getting to that structure of, we spoke about identifying the problem statement, look at what kind of solution would fit in, find the solution, quickly onboard all the internal partners, finance, procurement, business guys, users, all of them together. The third step is the most important step, which consumes most of the time, is assessment, right? Assessment of the solution. So let's say we shortlisted 3 or 4 solutions, we have to go through an assessment. Now, if you actually look at assessment of any potential solution, AI-powered solution, we look at from functional standpoint, technical also would have data, risk and all that, then branding, user experience, commercial. These are different lenses we apply when we look at a potential solution. So maybe the questions to the panelists, and I request each one of you to share your perspective on this. Maybe on a functional side, right? I mean, and any of you could talk about it. On the functional side, what do you think are some of those, basis your experience, some of those hurdles or the challenges which one can preempt and can start working towards proactively on how to go about navigating through those hurdles? I mean, let's start with the functional, and then we can go maybe each one of the sections. Yeah, please go ahead.
So when we are looking from the functional perspective, one of the things that the system, the technology that you are going to use, has to bring in something what we call the recruiter intuitiveness. Today, the automation does what? It just speeds up the thing or builds a scale. But there are certain recruiter intuitiveness in terms of, okay, there is a specific job description that is there, you have lot of CVs coming in. Can the system, apart from doing just the scoring, can bring in the trade-offs, can say, okay, why this person fits the role well, what can go to selling the role, something that's there with the best of the recruiters, that intuitiveness is there, something that can come in there. So other thing that you have to look at it from the functional perspective is, like one of the things that came in earlier, we have lot of, in a real case scenario, mid-hire, the things keep on changing. Where the human adapts, the automation system don't adapt. But the AI-based system has to adapt and figure it out how it can bring in. Moment we have some certain clarity on that, I think those are some of the things that will be.
Yeah, so I have, so in my view, see, in recruitment, we've been trying to do this for around 10 years, right? In some shape and form. We've been talking about auto screening, auto sourcing, all of that maybe 10 years, much before Gen AI came into the picture. And despite all the best of efforts and intention and resources, we've not made much headroom for 2 reasons in my view. One, that this is the only function where product has right to refusal, right? Candidate is a product. Somebody is willing to buy, somebody is willing to sell. At last, like Sangeeta was pointing out, the project has right to refusal, saying that I will not come to you, right? Which is not the case in any other industry. If you're trying to, automate or put an AI to manufacturing to retail, there is a product you can just move across, a 2-party agrees. We are the only function where product has right to refusal, right? So it is very difficult, and now we are at a stage where you can contextualize, you can understand the signals, the bot can have the conversation. But I think we're still at a stage, at least in India, where there are practical problems. What are those practical problems? Such as, if I line up 2,000 people, 1,200 people will come and register, and out of which only 300 will turn up. Right? No matter what you do, you give them all the branding elements, get them to scan a QR code, register. Everything is there in WhatsApp. Messages are going. Despite that, there are only 25-30% turn up. Right? So we need to really solve for that context. And I think any borrowed thinking and ignored context, when you're trying to implement an AI system, is not going to work. You need to contextualize for your own system, for your culture, for your processes. And last bit, I think none of this system will work unless you clean up your data.
Absolutely.
Right? Today, our data is in mess, especially for all the large organizations, many systems. We need to really work on those things. Then we need to work on organizational structure. And before we talk about tool and technology, these are the internal calls we need to take, and then only perhaps we can make some meaningful progress. In my view.
Perfect. So, Anupam, before I come to you, I think, and that's also linking back to what Anupam mentioned about having the right users as well onboarded at the start, so that we don't miss out on any of the practical scenarios from a functional standpoint which would come through. So we have a list of all those functional scenarios when we assess those solutions. So, but Anupam, maybe talk about, if you want to talk about on your experience and some of the hurdles from a technical lens standpoint, right? When you say, and technical has been one of the most difficult one, because functionally we can always give gyan and can say what exactly we need, but technical is something which is we can just facilitate this conversation. Please.
So I'll try to connect the technical and the commercial both aspects here, because technology alone is not going to help unless you understand how much we can pay for it.
Absolutely.
So technical thing, the most of the time I have seen is it's a data readiness, as Vikas mentioned, and then it comes to the integration, compliance, and scalability. So a lot of those things are there, right? And those things can be derived only by having a clarity on what exactly the business outcome we are expecting and how we want to drive the need, right? And now, if you start connecting back with the commercial aspects, so definitely is this data readiness, integration, compliance, and those things have the cost. But many a times, as a talent leader, what we sell to executives is just a cost of the license. And this does not define the very popular word, if you know, in the business is called TCO. So TCO stands for total cost ownership. So TCO is equal to cheap licenses plus implementation cost. And if it is implementation cost is super expensive, so you are not gonna keep an eye contact with the finance when they ask what exactly we have achieved over a period of time. The implementation cost is your integration cost, your training cost, your user cost, your other stuff, whatever tool integration you want to do, the compliance cost, data security. So a lot of those aspects are there. It is not just about buying a SaaS product per license cost. It's not the only cost. What we keep thinking, oh, fantastic, we have a $10 a user cost per month and it's the best option for us. This is not a talent leader should be looking into when they do the commercial around what tool to pick. I think it's important to look at TCO, this is a total cost ownership, how it's going to do that. And if you do not know what the implementation cost, I would advise talent leaders to go in detail to that and see what cost it could be, and that defines the total cost. Because you will be asked, right, like cost per hire and those things. You don't define, okay, fine, and this is a salary, this is an employee, and this number of Naukri licenses you have or LinkedIn costs you have. It's not just a cost. Even your man-hour cost, interviewer cost, right? That's also per hour cost that also contribute to it. So technically, those things are there, but commercial most important, because that's the biggest hurdle I have seen when it comes to HR and TA to propose in its AI solutions. So it should have a good business alignment, and it should have a genuine, or I would say efficient TCO to propose. I think that will help you make a good selling pitch to the executives to buy any tool.
No, good point. So when we cross so going back, recap, problem statement, we spoke about at least a view of what kind of solution we need, moving on to the onboarding the internal partners, and then assessment, the various lenses we apply on assessment. if you follow this the structured approach to it, very likely we're going to get to a successful implementation and shorter the time frame as well. But I think what we also have seen in the industry, and I'm sure many of you would agree to it, that even if a successful implementation not necessarily mean the value realization, right? And that's actually is very key for our business stakeholders, or there is a buying from the one we have taken earlier when we started the implementation. So what's been your experience and perspective you want to share with the audience on, maybe Anupam, if you want to go for this, is how do you ensure that you actually have that on mind and optically show what it has, the solution has delivered?
So that somehow connect back to like the kind of projecting the ROI of any AI solutions, what we are adopting, right? So there are various metrics what industry is following when it comes to measuring the success or benchmarking the AI solution what we are using, right? So one could be the efficiency metrics that could be at various stages of talent acquisition that could come across. Maybe the response time, the satisfaction rate, the feedback score, and those things are there, right? Third is the cost impact. That's another ROI metric that finance is always looking into, okay, what would be the break-even point? It's going to be 6 months or 8 months or 10 months? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to renewal, you don't want to run around and see, oh my God, I do not know what my numbers looks like. So what's the break-even stage we are going to achieve? We spend 100K and how much we are saving and those things. Because that's another part where we look into that. And that compares with the previous year cost, and that's the ROI defines. And third one is your users, your stakeholders, right, their feedbacks. Okay, how efficiently the users are able to use it. You talked about the user experience and the easy and readiness to the tool to use it. And that's where I think some of the recent, your KPMG report, Mohit had surveyed about where the most talent leaders fail when they talk about, and there was one Gartner survey published, I think, in the month of October last year, when a lot of AI boom was there. Okay, where the most talent leader fails, just because they are not able to assess, because they don't have a metrics to define the ROI or the break-even point at any stage when it is asked from them.
Yeah, I know, and it was also about having that back of the mind all the time when you start looking out for a solution, that this is 18 months down the line, I have to go back and report it on how it has delivered the value, right? Just to summarize, and then we move it to the audience and hear from them as well. And then possibly I take the liberty of adding one or two things, right? So if I look at a very structured way, have a scorecard in place, on board. Firstly, the problem statement, very clear on what exactly your problem is which you need to solve. There could be 100 solutions, but what exactly is the kind of solution you need? Number one. Number two, be clear on the various stages of the assessments. Number three, maybe have a scorecard in place. Onboard all the internal partners up in the front to say, this is what we intend to do, how this is going to help on the business objective. So it's very important to also stitch back your business objective to the T objectives and how this solution is going to help you to meet the business objectives. And then, and some of the things which you've spoken about. So any last closing thoughts from the gentleman?
One thing, I'll just tie up what both of you said. See, look at, like any implementation takes 18 months, right? To come out, say whether it has generated value or not. Any hire in an organization, it will take at least 1 year to say whether that hire has generated a value or not. And any system we pick, we are supposed to deliver value in 6 months. That's where I think managing the cycles and managing the expectation, I think we have to tie that up, and that's maybe something that I see.
I think one last bit, Mohit, I think it is very important when you're taking these initiatives, you need to project it as a business project and not as a HR/TA project. What happens is you start with a great grand show where all the stakeholders will participate. 30 days down the line, it's only HR people or TA people are run around with different cross-functional teams and trying to put together and make it work. It's never going to work. Unless you set the context at the right, set up your change board, set up your sponsorship from the business, who will take some of these critical decisions. Because unless you make some of those internal shifts, these tools are never going to give you the desired yield. So it's very important to set the context at right to say who are the decision makers, who are the business sponsors, who's the change board, who will take the decisions where we can really make those moves internally. Change the processes, change the policies, change the org structure, and then you make your deployment, your implementation journey, then perhaps you will see some fruition. Otherwise, if you run it like a TA project or HR project, more often than not, stakeholder will drop the ball and will continue to struggle.
Yeah, it has to align to the business outcomes as well.
Absolutely.
So just one thing I want to talk about through my experience is, as a talent leader, it's also important for you to get your hands dirty when you implement any solution. That will always help you giving the right projection about the timeline, execution timeline, and the ROIs or the break-even point for the finance, if you know the tools well. Many a times what happens as a leader, we talk with a very surface level. We don't go deeper in that. And my personal experience, when you go deeper in that, you really understand the basic challenges, and you can calculate those things super comfortably, rather depending on someone else's perceptions or assumptions, how it's going to work it out for us. Many a times we paint a very rosy picture and we fail just because we do not know the tool. We just know what sales team has sold us as features, but we do not really know how those feature works and how deeply it can help us to gain more efficiency in the whole process.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Let's move to the audience. We have 5 minutes with us. Maybe take 1 or 2, and not necessarily it has to be a question, right? I mean, I would also encourage somebody to come and talk about if any of your experience you want to share with the group about any specific hurdle or experience you had while looking at a solution, had an intent and implementation value relation, feel free. Maybe we can take 1 or 2 such, and be crisp, of course. Sorry, you?
Mohit, am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, absolutely, Satya.
I'm going to go back to your original question of why does it take so much of time? So, assuming that you're evaluating an HRMS or an ATS, or you would have done your due diligence in terms of the select team which is doing the comparisons and best 5 products in the market and so on. From my experience in almost a decade in Reliance, I've been a part of about 4 implementations, and these are mammoth across a 400,000 organization. The one big learning is that, and we work with SAP, Workday, SuccessFactors, and all through, right? We've also tried new age technologies, bolt-on solutions, and so on. Why does it take time? Is because what we look back in retrospect is that, sorry, I'm going to step over this side. So long as your backend is in place, there's a lot of time which is spent on front-end UI UX, right? If the decision has been taken to implement a solution, what typically happens is that too many opinion leaders, so you might have a HR business partner who's been working on SAP all his life, will come back and look at the new solution and say, sir, isme ye screen nahi hai, this data is not coming through, this is not happening. A recruiter might have a different opinion, and so on and so forth. So long as your backend integration is seamless and you're 70% there, you should just go ahead and implement. Because UI, UX and all of those things are the easier things which will get ironed out over a period of time.
Absolutely.
That takes a lot of time, and this is you can't really satisfy all. And typically what happens, people in their respective functions look at it from their point of view. They don't see the larger picture. Yeah. Which is why the SAPs on the workdays today are fairly rigid in terms of, hey, this is what the product is, it's working for 100 others. You want to take it? This is how it's going to go. And we'll give you support to kind of train the teams and go on. So I think that's one bit of, input from my side. That's it.
Really appreciate, Satya. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. Anybody else has any other points or experience to share?
Am I audible?
Yeah.
You are.
I'm Usha. I'm from Google. So while I understand there is this whole ecosystem trying to build the big AI tools, my nudge is this. You all may think that at Google we have all the resources at our disposal. It's not. The reason for that is there is a lot of guardrails at Google. So what we have done is think of AI as a cell level, micro cell level initiative. There is a whole team thinking about what is AI in HR mean for Google. That has a 3-year roadmap. But then the problem is AI is changing every day. So if we don't change the mindset of our recruiters at a grassroots level, today one of the things that we have as OKRs for our recruiters is every recruiter builds an agentic AI product every 3 months. That's on their OKR. Including me as a leader, I have to build out something. So AI has to be embedded as part of your role every day. You don't need big tools to do it. Simple, what is available in public domain is good enough. A Gemini, a ChatGPT is great to start. You don't need big tools. You don't need big implementation. While you need that eventually to figure out where this lands as an AI, but to start with, even in our daily life, we can do this.
Absolutely.
So that's something we should think.
Thank you for sharing. And I think I like the point about in the OKR of the recruiters to keep thinking and coming up with their own this thing. But I'm assuming there is a team which govern it and stitch all of this together to say, is that true?
So we have a concept called sandbox.
Okay.
So we have a team of people who do compliance test checking within our own teams.
Understood.
So that we are not violating anything. It's
Absolutely.
more like a pair of eyes looking at it, another pair of eyes looking at it. We don't do this big. As long as we are not touching any pillars of bias like rejecting someone, we are okay. But if you are stack ranking, shortlisting, bringing them to the top, it's okay. As long as we are not using AI to reject anyone, those guardrails are okay. So we have some basic guardrails, nothing big.
For us, by us. Very nice. Thank you very much for sharing.
So just to add one point, on lighter note, Usha, good to hear from you about ChatGPT versus Gemini. So I'm a big fan of both tool, by the way, but I think I completely agree because that's where the behavioral risk that comes in play when you do not know the mindset of the users and stakeholders.